Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. Tonight we will be discussing about the upcoming Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, which Pakistan will be hosting on October 15-16. This is a major event because this is a gathering of world leaders that Pakistan is hosting after a gap of many years. The last event being hosted was in 2012. And when we talk about Shanghai Cooperation Organization or SCO, it is important organization not only for the region but for the world as well, because of course more than 40% of population of the world and are comprising of the members that are of course SCO member states. This is important organization for economic as well as security cooperation and cultural cooperation within the member states. Pakistan became SCO full member back in 2017, and of course this upcoming event or summit is significant for Pakistan. In today's program we will be talking about what are Pakistan's expectations from this major and significant event, and when we specifically talk about regional cooperation and security dynamics surrounding this event, we will be talking about all these dimensions in today's program, and what challenges and opportunities does this summit presents not only to Pakistan but to other member states as well. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Mr. Shehryar Khan, who is analyst. Welcome to the program. We are also joined online by Mr. Jauhar Saleem, who is former Foreign Secretary, and he is President of Institute of Regional Studies. Welcome to the program. Shehryar, let me start with you. Of course, when we talk about this upcoming summit, this is major event for Pakistan specifically because Pakistan is not only rotating chairman for this year, but also because back in 2012 Pakistan hosted any major event, and now this event presents a lot of opportunities as well as challenges for Pakistan. So keeping all this context in mind, what are your expectations from this upcoming summit?
So, Maryam, thank you so much. When we look at SCO this time around, when we're hosting, Pakistan is hosting most of the leaders of SCO, we have to look at it from a specific angle of the geopolitical dynamics that the world is going through right now. There is a major escalation and war, genocide going on in the Middle East. Then if you look at the dynamics between Russia and Ukraine, the war over that, both of these wars are now almost reaching 1 year and over a year long. Other than that, the whole dynamics, economic dynamics of the world, they also play a very important role. The rising influence of China, that's also a key center point of the world economic situation. And in light of all of this geopolitical dynamics, this SCO heads of leaders conference is now set to happen in Pakistan.
Right.
So when we look at major dynamics, I would basically see that initially when SCO was established, one of the core purposes of SCO was regional stability and security.
Counter-terrorism, violent extremism, separatism.
And curbing separatism and extremism and all of that. And given that Pakistan is one state that is suffering the most after the US withdrawal from Afghanistan, that should probably be one of the core agendas that need to be discussed. And I've always advocated that SCO is that influential platform which takes into account the whole of the regional dynamics that Pakistan operates through. It focuses on Central Asia as well. It has key influential players like China and Russia. And this is like one platform where Pakistan has an opportunity to present its case in the regional anti-terrorism network as well that is established under the whole framework of SCO. And Pakistan can basically bring all of these countries on one page and present its case against the the mushrooming of terrorist organizations that are launching attacks into Pakistan using Afghanistan's territory. And a whole regional, I would say, approach is most conducive to basically counter that threat Pakistan is facing.
Right. Mr. Jauhar, when we look at this upcoming SCO summit since Pakistan is holding
Thank you.
the rotating chairmanship of SCO, Council of Heads of Government. Do you think this provides some strategic advantages to Pakistan as well in shaping the regional agendas?
Gee, thanks, Maryam. Yeah, this is a very important event, of course, but let me just give you a bit of a background to it, which is very important. Um, Shanghai Cooperation Organization initially started as the Shanghai Five, and it was initially the focus was that Russia and China wanted to establish a multipolar world, or at least work for that. So that was one of the initial declarations which was signed. As that expanded subsequently to Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the membership expanded in 2017. It was when Pakistan and India became members as well. Now it has 10 members, which include the stans, China, Russia, India, Pakistan, and recently Belarus as well signed. But there are also a lot of countries. There are some countries which are observers, like Afghanistan, which is presently inactive, and Mongolia. But there are lots of countries, uh, more than a dozen countries, which are dialogue partners, and others which are keen to become observers or dialogue partners. As you mentioned already, it is basically comprises 40% of the world population, but even more importantly, 32% of the world economy. So that is the background. But now, what is important is, in terms of the decision-making platforms of this organization, there are two bodies. I mean, there are multiple bodies, but the main bodies, let's say, um, these are the heads of states, Council of Heads of States, and then the Council of Heads of Government. And that's a very important distinction, because the meeting of the Council of Heads of States was actually just held a few months ago, actually in July in Kazakhstan. And that is actually the highest forum of SCO. This is the second highest forum, which is the Heads of Government, the Council of Heads of Government. And in terms of decision making, uh, the decision making in terms of, let's say, security issues and defense issues and sort of policy, the broader policy issues, it is taken by uh, the heads of states
States,
council,
yeah.
not the heads of government council focuses more on trade, economic, humanitarian, sort of and
Cultural
social,
aspects.
cultural, and these
Right.
type of issues. But
Right,
of
right.
course,
But
having
Mr.
stated
Right.
that,
Right, but Mr. Johar, when we look at the history of SCO, of course, when it was formed back in 2001, one of the major objectives of this organization was to combat extremism, separatism. Do you think these objectives are still relevant, and how much relevant are these specifically when we look at in the context of Pakistan?
definitely, yeah, that was one of the very important objectives, to promote security. And again, we have to remember that this is a trans-regional organization. It's not just one region; it's several regions, where the countries are members. And it was very important to promote security, trans-regional security, and within the component of security, terrorism, of course, anti-terrorism was an important, was a very important sort of subject. And for that, what they established, they established SCO RATS. What is SCO RATS? That is Regional Terrorist Structure. So that is a very important sort of mechanism within SCO, and Pakistan, of course, is playing a very active role in that. And that is, during this summit, the RATS mechanism, within that, I think there's anti-terrorism cooperation, and there has been a lot of cooperation between these countries, a very significant level of cooperation in terms of intelligence sharing, in terms of sort of sharing best practices, in terms of sort of the meetings of the relevant sort of bodies, and in terms of promoting understanding. The sort of and that has been one of the successes of this organization,
Right,
and it will remain a very important objective. But I think in this
right,
particular summit, we have to remember that the focus will be on economy and trade and finance.
right. Right, but Mr. Jauhar, when we look at dynamics within SCO, specifically between China, Russia, and India, how do you see these dynamics impacting Pakistan's position within the organization?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because what has been happening is what we saw in recent years. India initially was very keen, because this organization, the two pillars of the organization, and it started with them, which is China and Russia, and then other countries, got interested as well. So India was very keen initially, but gradually, as India is now sort of, like getting more and more into the Western camps, which is endeavoring to sort of, to contain China, to decouple China, as they call it, the so-called Indo-Pacific strategy and all that. So what we have seen is that India has, uh, you know, it has lost some of its enthusiasm, at least, for instance, the last summit that it held was held virtually, although there was last year. It could have been held in person as well, but I think they decided it deliberately so to kind of reduce the importance of that. And also, I would say here that in the recent summits, in terms of their participation, they haven't been as involved as they had been in the past. So some analysts feel that there's a slight walk back that, and for example, in many of these summits that took place at the level of the Council of the Heads of Government, Narendra Modi doesn't even attend. He sends his deputy, he sends probably Jaishankar. And my feeling is that he might even do that, the same for Pakistan, the summit taking place in Pakistan as well. So clearly the dynamics are this. The cooperation between Russia and China is increasing, but India is sort of, walking back a little,
Right, right.
although it is staying as a full member, but in terms of its active participation, it has not been as enthusiastic as before.
Right, right. And Shehryar, when we look at these dynamics, of course, both Pakistan and India became full members of SCO back in 2017. How do you think that, of course, the basic purpose of initially including both Pakistan and India in SCO was to promote regional integration because we know that SARC has become dead since 2016. How do you think that this upcoming summit would be impacting Pakistan-India relations, or Pakistan-India relations might be impacting the upcoming SCO summit?
So Maryam, as we previously discussed, that this whole summit is happening under a lot of like geopolitical developments as well, and we know that India is like hosting elections in the Indian occupied Kashmir. So if I basically look at the summit under that lens, I don't see India making any progress towards normalizing any relationship with Pakistan when they're like holding such controversial elections in an occupied territory. So, and we know that most of the elections, or probably all of the elections in India, have a very anti-Pakistan sentiment that they basically use to garner votes and everything. So under that like framework, I personally don't think India would want to give any signal to their domestic audience, especially during elections, that they're trying to go for some sort of normalization with Pakistan. And we know that if they send any representation on this
Right,
side, that
right.
would be a positive gesture, and I don't think they would want to risk that right now.
Right, but Shehryar, like we know that the initial purpose of SCO and inclusion of both Pakistan and India in becoming full member states back in 2017 was to promote regional integration. So how do you think that the tensions between the two countries has impacted the goals or objectives of SCO?
So yeah, Maryam, if you basically compared this with SARC, the dynamics of the both organizations are completely different.
Yeah.
So SARC, even though it's like a South Asian, regional framework, India has the potential, or like in that area, to influence SARC and the regional countries and the regional economic dynamics as well. But when it comes to SCO, this like multilateral framework is more dominated by Russia and China, and these are like emerging superpowers with a lot of like economic muscle and a lot of like influence in the region as well. So for India to on its own counter this framework or this alliance, or have some sort of like influence, is not that prominent, and I don't think that would affect any of the workings or the framework that SCO like operates in. Obviously, when it comes to the whole idea of economic integration, that is like something that India doesn't see itself a part of currently. Why? Because one, the dynamics between India and Pakistan are not at the optimal level. There is no economic cooperation going on, and the framework of any sort of cooperation between India and Pakistan is like in some distant future. But the whole regional integration into Central Asia and the rest of the geographical location passes through Pakistan. So any expansion economically that India views westwards has to come from some sort of like talks or some peace building measures or confidence building measures between Pakistan and India, which I don't think seem likely right now. Other than that, even if they have good relations with Pakistan and we take our economic cooperation of some level forward, the whole dynamics between in Afghanistan are not conducive for any cooperation that can happen
of
between
course,
Central Asia.
Afghanistan remains
a sticking point.
An observer. Yeah, but Afghanistan, when we look at SCO, it is an observer state at this point in time. But we are not expecting any Taliban government, of course, representation in this upcoming summit. But at the same time, we know that Afghanistan's stability remains important when we talk about not only peace within the region, but of course, when we talk about different energy projects as well. So do you think, like you mentioned, this remains a sticking point? Can this summit provide some ways to deal with Afghanistan issue?
So when it comes to the regional cooperation frameworks that Jauhar Saab was also mentioning, again, like we talk about like various energy projects that have been being discussed, like CASA 1000 and like various other like TAPI and like also like regional integrating frameworks like the Trans-Afghan Railway from Uzbekistan as well. A lot of these projects have been discussed. They have been being discussed for the last like 10 to 15 years as well. Again, when it comes to like actually bringing them to fruition, like it will only depend on how stable Afghanistan is globally and what kind of signal Afghan government wants to give globally. And if there are security concerns to neighboring countries emanating from Afghanistan's soil, it will be very difficult for this cooperation to like go forward. Other than that, when it comes to multilateral institutions that are available to fund these projects, they are very reluctant to pour in any sort of like investment into a geographical location
that remains
unstable. And obviously there are like a lot of security concerns globally, not just in Afghanistan and the region. Now the security concerns that are emanating from Afghanistan are showing in Europe, in Russia as well, and in the Western Bloc. So the security concerns will be of prominent and paramount importance to be settled before this like cooperation can further be enhanced.
Right, and when we talk about economic integration, of course, Jauhar Saab, we know that energy projects remain an important aspect of this integration. So in your opinion, what potential does SCO provide to Pakistan, especially in dealing with Pakistan's chronic energy shortages? And when we look at different projects like TAPI and other projects which are, of course, in pending, do you think this upcoming summit provides a hope to Pakistan for such completion of these projects?
I would say it provides a good forum to discuss these issues, which are important, of course, from Pakistan's perspective. Pakistan wants to be, a regional hub in terms of trade, connectivity, and energy corridors. And Pakistan, as you mentioned yourself, is very energy deficient, unfortunately. And because of that reason, it's very important. These type of projects like TAPI or Kaza 2000 and other projects, Iran, Pakistan gas pipeline, and so all these countries are member countries of SCO. So it provides a good forum to discuss these projects. But so far, the successes of SCO has been mainly in terms of since its inception in 2001, they have been mainly in terms of promoting regional understanding, providing a cooperative forum to balance the conflicting interests and views sometimes, and also to set up this RATS mechanism that I've mentioned to promote cooperation in terms of anti-terrorism and sort of countering extremism or those separatism, these type of challenges that which the countries are facing. In terms of economic collaboration, because and that is a very important part of SCO's agenda, and it has the potential because theoretically it is actually the biggest regional organization in the world in terms of the world population, percentage of world population, and the percentage of world economy that it involves. But unfortunately, so far, this type of economic linkages which we see in organizations such as the EU or ASEAN or Mercosur or NAFTA, they haven't been built. And that is why I think it's very important that because this heads of governments forum, which is called the Council of Heads of Government, when they meet, naturally they will discuss other issues as well. But the focus would remain on building sort of these economic linkages, which would include the energy corridor linkages as well. So I hope,
Right.
and that and this is our hope, in Pakistan, that during this conference, which would be on 15, 16, it's primarily one day, but during that, and this is a pretty high level, there will be certain avenues which could be built in terms of promoting understanding so that the process of such cooperation could be accelerated, which has not happened in the past.
Right, right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jauhar Saleem, for joining us in today's program. Shehryar, we know that SCO remains an important platform when we look towards other regions as well. So how do you think this upcoming summit is playing an important role, and how can Pakistan extend its relations with Central Asian states, specifically when we talk about these energy corridors and energy projects?
So obviously, SCO provides that platform for all of the regional players, the regional stakeholders that Pakistan has energy needs that it needs to fulfill, and the Central Asian states are very rich in all sorts of like minerals and oil and gas related products. Obviously, there are like a lot of projects that have already been discussed on various different platforms. There's like a lot of regional cooperation bilaterally going on between Pakistan and a lot of Central Asian countries, Uzbekistan, and then there's Kazakhstan and a lot of like other South Asian states as well. But a regional framework has always been missing. And we've also discussed in various programs previously as well that this is one region that is least connected in terms of air corridors, land corridors, and like all sorts of like connectivity issues are prevalent in this region. So to come up with a regional approach on how to economically integrate Pakistan and the region, this is the platform where all of those discussions generally have taken place, and this is the only platform where all of these countries can sit together and form a framework in which this cooperation can go forward. So when it comes to Pakistan's foreign policy objectives, they align very strategically with what SCO, basically the whole philosophy of SCO.
And Shanghai spirit.
And Shanghai spirit as well. Since Pakistan is a key state when it comes to the whole China's BRI network as well, and that network also China intends to increase and expand and bring the Central Asian countries and other countries that are part of the whole framework into the whole discussion. And Pakistan being a country that basically is a key recipient of the BRI network, and Pakistan, it goes into Pakistan's favor as well. Since now in a few months the Gwadar International Airport is being launched. The Gwadar port is functional.
It's going to be functional.
And functional. So these are the main areas economically that can be discussed.
Right. To talk more about it, we are now joined online by Mr. Baluch, who is a former diplomat. Welcome to the program, Mr. Baluch. So when we talk about this upcoming SCO summit, of course, given Afghanistan's observer status in this summit, how do you think that instability within Afghanistan is going to be impacting discussions in this upcoming summit?
Thank you, Maryam. Actually, I would rather take a little broader view of your question, which is probably, I know where kind of what we want to reach at, as to how can this SCO be able to help the region, Afghanistan and Pakistan, to really face this challenge of Afghanistan, if you will, because it's a challenge for Afghanistan in the sense that Pakistan being a bordering, I mean, they are our border, they are our neighbors, they are all like historical friends and brothers in faith. We have been together in these ups and downs of the history for the last over 50 years since the first U.S. Invasion or attack on Afghanistan and terrorism issues. We know it's a very long history. Now, let's see where Afghanistan stands today. Afghanistan stands today where the Afghan government, which is of course controlled by Taliban, is still looking for international recognition, but unfortunately has not been able to streamline its own governance structure and to align it with the norms, international norms, in terms of human rights, in terms of being inclusive, which they actually committed when they signed this agreement. So they've not been able to abide by that. And the most immediate threat that comes now from this weakness, structural weakness of the Afghan government, is the reactivation of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, who are able to use this space in Afghanistan, which is created essentially because of their writ being very weak in Afghanistan, of the Afghan government. So we have this immediate challenge, and I think we can use the SCO platform to somehow harmonize our policies with the regional actors, which includes, of course, the others, Iran, Pakistan, China, and other regional countries.
Right. Mr. Jia Baluch, also we know that, of course, SCO is now being seen as counterpoint to, as of course, Eurasian counterpoint to NATO as well. How do you see that this positioning of SCO benefits Pakistan's foreign policy objectives?
No, I think, Maryam, we should not position SCO as a counterpoise to NATO. NATO has entirely different aims and objectives, and SCO has entirely different philosophy. SCO is essentially a regional kind of platform where a Eurasian landmass comes together. I think we all know that the Eurasian landmass is about 40% of the world area, and of about 30% of the world GDP, and about 40% of the oil and gas reserves in the world. Russia, China, India, Pakistan, all these, and the Central Asia. So I think it has much more importance as a vehicle of regional cooperation, a vehicle of peace, and a multilateralism. In fact, it can become it is becoming, actually fast becoming, a model of what is called an era of multilateralism and a multipolar world that we all dream of. So there is no hegemonic and imperial hegemonic power in the world dictating the entire world what to do or what not to do. But with this diverse countries in SCO, I think it's an extremely good model as to how the world should move in the 21st century, when we have so many crises within countries, there are so many conflicts, there are so many environmental issues. And I think if you look at what SCO has been doing, is starting off with terrorism and border cooperation to include several other sectors. But I think most importantly, it can have regional approaches to different problem areas that we see today. For example, SCO in Islamabad can come up with a SCO plan of action to resolve Afghanistan issue, or even SCO can announce a SCO plan of action for resolving the Middle East issue. So I think there is a immense potential in the SCO to what is called to promote the the agenda of the world peace that we all dream of.
Right. But Mr. Baluch, despite the potential non-attendance of India in this upcoming SCO summit, how do you see what are some strategies that Pakistan can, of course, promote in order for this upcoming summit to succeed?
See, Indian opposition are not opposition. Uh, we should not make India as a stumbling block in the progress of SCO. SCO is much bigger than alone India, but India, we have seen in the past, unfortunately, has been undermining SCO because when their turn came in for a summit, they held a virtual summit. And I think Mr. Modi did not go to the last summit, which I think took place in Kazakhstan probably. So, and we don't know what's going to happen in this, at what level India is going to be represented. But still, I look at positively. So let SCO create certain incentive for India to engage with SCO and engage with the aim and objectives to promote peace in the region. In fact, when I mentioned that a SCO plan of action for Afghanistan, an SCO plan of action for Middle East, why not an SCO plan of action for resolving long-standing Kashmir issue? Let the regional approach be taken, that how important it is for SCO itself and the Eurasian landmass and the countries there.
Mr. Baluch, since you alluded to Kashmir issue, of course we know that bilateral issues are not to be discussed in SCO summit. So how can Pakistan bring on this issue within the framework of SCO summit?
That's a very big challenge. In fact, I entirely agree with that. We might be kind of prevented from raising it as a bilateral issue with India. But definitely we know that it's not a bilateral only issue between India and Pakistan. It is an agenda, unfinished agenda of partition. It is an obligation on the international community to fulfill those commitments which were made to the Kashmiris by the Indian leadership and then later codified in several UN Security Council resolutions. So I think it could be brought in as a kind of a framework of creating peaceful environment in South Asian region, in the West Asia and Central Asia, or at least in the SCO region. And I think it could be Kashmir as one of the issues which cannot be wished away. The reality is that Kashmir, despite all whatever India has done to its status with these fair kind of elections or abrogation of their special status, it still remains a unresolved issue. The people of Kashmir still want their right of choosing where their destiny lies. So I think that can be brought in. One way, there are ways and tools to bring in under discussion under these regional cooperation discussions when they proceed.
Of course, and right. And Shehryar, when we talk about SCO, of course, framework, there are a number of sectors that it covers, and science and technology remains one of the important sectors in this regard. How do you think Pakistan can position or leverage hosting this summit to enhance its ties with other countries, especially when we look at the recent launch of digital technology platform that was launched in 2023. So how can we enhance our ties or of course make advances in science and technology and digital technology sector?
I see two areas that can immediately bear a lot of fruit when it comes to this framework. One, as you mentioned, it's digitization and IT services. That's where a lot of cooperation can take place. And second is cultural and socio-economic exchange.
And what are the member states we should be looking towards within this framework?
Mainly when it comes to IT and technology, Central Asia and Pakistan, that connectivity, if it's a challenge when it comes to physical connectivity from ground and from air connections, we can definitely work more on IT and exports of IT and services and digital infrastructure that can be developed that can connect Central Asia to South Asia. That's something that has been missing historically, and that is something which can be done in a relatively short amount of time, and it does not really depend a lot on the geopolitical dynamics of the region. Again, I keep on stressing this on various forums that the people-to-people connection between Central Asia and South Asia has historically been missing. And this is like something that both Central Asia and South Asian countries need to work on. More connections when it comes to business, more connections when it comes to civil society, academia to academia. That is like something that which is a low-hanging fruit and which requires a lot of work, which can be done in a very short amount of time, and the amount of return that it can give when it comes to connections between people.
Of course, the gains that we can
The gains
have
are like a lot more. And when the private sector starts talking to the private sector, when the civil society and the people start interacting and like developing their networks, that usually is like much stronger and like much faster when you compare it to the public sector and the government to government approach.
Right.
So this is like something that can be done through these frameworks.
Right, and of course, when we look towards cooperation in different sectors, Mr. Jauhar Baluch, how critical, in your opinion, is Pakistan's participation in maritime, of course, projects of SCO, specifically for the development of blue economy and different maritime resource management?
Definitely, I think this SCO since covers a very large, not only land mass, but also the ocean as well. And we know that China, which is again a very major player in SCO, Russia, again a very big player in the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, while China has its presence now in Indian Ocean and its reach up to Pacific. So I think there is a whole lot of cooperation which can be done in terms of capacity building and I think it has been done, some of the drills have been done for preventing terrorism on the high seas or the piracy in the high seas. So I think there is and also I think one thing which can be added to it, and I'm sure it must be part of the agenda, would be the climate change. I think these countries are impacted, including Pakistan, India, as well as Central Asian countries, and China is a major player also in the global effort to contain CO2. So I think we should bring in, I would say that they should prioritize climate change as a major area
of course, climate change was also discussed in Astana summit as well. But when we look at, of course, the growth and significance of SCO in past few years, how do you think this is going to be changing power dynamics between Central Asia and, of course, South Asia and beyond?
Yeah, I think this is the SCO's major strength, is that the countries are represented from West Asia as well as Central Asia. So and there are several connectivity projects which are under discussion. CASA 1000, likewise TAPE gas line, and there are several other. Of course, the SCO and Pakistan being a very nodal point in the Chinese Road and Belt Initiative, and being part of the CPAC. So I think there could be further enhancement of this connectivity through RBI or through other initiative that can be undertaken under the SCO. But I think energy, alternate energy, climate change, terrorism, security, and of course multilateral diplomacy by itself as a vehicle of peace for the global peace and regional peace can be discussed, and I'm hopeful that during this summit that Pakistan is so privileged to host, we will be able to advance some of the agenda that we all have been discussing.
Right, and lastly, very briefly, Mr. Jauhar Baluch, tell us what will be or what are your expectations from this upcoming summit if Pakistan successfully engages with all the key member states?
Yeah, what I expect, first of all, is for us, for Pakistan, that we being so important, being the hosts, so I think we could leverage strategically as an interlocutor uh, between several actors in this in Central Asia, South Asia, and Eurasian countries. Number one, and number two, we could also promote our image that has been unfortunately in the past suffering because of the bad perception or obviously the propaganda by our rival country that Pakistan has been diplomatically isolated and so on and so forth. So that perception obviously is already gone, but that can be further enhanced that no, Pakistan is so engaged. Pakistan is an important country which plays an important role. And in this, I think we could promote our own, in the sense that the common agenda of bringing peace to Afghanistan, fighting terrorism, menace of terrorism in the world, in the region and in the world, and of course, creating some kind of a multilateral environment in which these issues, even those issues which are which remain a bone of contention between different member countries, that can be even addressed. So I think it's a great privilege for Pakistan to be hosting this, and I think it will be a great diplomatic success for Pakistan to be hosting this important meeting and summit. And I think Pakistan's image, Pakistan's perception is going to be enhanced by hosting this meeting. And I'm sure we can always inject our idea of peace, stability within the region and in the entire region of SCO member countries, as well as rest of the world.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Baluch, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Shehryar Khan, for joining us in today's program. Of course, the upcoming SCO summit holds immense significance, not only for Pakistan, but for the region. And of course, in the coming days, we will be witnessing how SCO navigates the challenges that member states are having at this point in time. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.